Highway 6975. Brian, do we have that official warning yet?
It appears so. So we should have it populated here in just a moment. There it is.
Let's click that polygon and give folks some numbers on that.
Okay, let's see.
It just came out. There it is.
One moment. Let's see, I'll click it here. So, looks like this one's till 7:45. So this one is moving over southeastern Lake Texoma, moving northeast at 35 miles an hour. And this one is also radar indicated, but again, this one is a very singular supercell, as Steve was just pointing out. So this one, pretty impressive. Locations impacted: Durant, Colbert, Caddo, Silo, Kennefic, Meade, Armstrong, Cartwright, Woodville, Eastern Lake Texoma, Calera, and McBride. So a lot of locations there, but yeah, these are starting to get into more populated areas here. Definitely get you in tornado safe place now. These storms again have been just consistently showing circulation, and sirens are now sounding in Bryan County. So again, folks, please get into your tornado safe shelters. And it's dark now. It's been dark for a while. These storms just continue to produce just danger in overall. So yeah, please take this seriously and continue to monitor here. We're going to watch this. They're even saying maybe additional supercells trying to build down into North Texas, which again, not too much concern in Grayson County, at least right now, but eventually this will be a problem for folks into maybe Marshall or even Bryan counties. But again, this line of just continued tornado activity continues. We're still keeping an eye again on the stuff going on in Atoka County, but right now it appears that actually some of that's kind of
really decreasing in all those
it's
cells.
lost
Hey,
its
let's
steam.
scan the Durant storm with the velocity scope.
Okay.
This storm is the most concerning storm right now. It is rapidly developed. It has produced a very well-defined hook echo, like Brian said, more like what you would get on a classic supercell, whereas most of these tonight have been these embedded tornadoes. Now, here's our Doppler scan coming out of the southwest of Durant.
See again.
We do see fairly low shear on this, but I got to tell you, just based on the visual structure of it that we saw on the Doppler 12 a second ago, I think this is maybe one of the most dangerous storms of the night across the region. Just crossing Lake Texoma, coming into southwestern Bryan County and tracking in the general direction of Durant, give or take. The structure on here on the composite radar isn't quite as well defined as on Doppler 12. Let's go ahead and put that in motion there, Brian, if we can. So we can see it's moving. It looks like it's lifting a little bit to the northeast. So yeah. it may miss Durant. It is going to be close. The Durant is within the tornado warning polygon. You can see here. And again, these are based on single storms. This one in this case, and their direction of motion, their size. That's what causes that polygon to take on that shape. And this storm is definitely looking pretty intense. It may be moving a little bit more to the north than the Weather Service indicates, but in any case, anywhere from Durant and Highway 75 west, I would say you're in danger on this one. This is an old warning here. The storm is weakening here southwest of Atoka, and we're not writing it off totally, but look how the lightning has almost totally disappeared on this storm coming out of Kennefic and now located over Tushka. That's a good sign. That lightning has been steadily decreasing for more than a half hour. So there's still a small chance that there could be a tornado in there. The odds are much lower on that storm than on the storms to the southwest, which have been building. And we see a better core on this one. Can we shoot the top on this Bryan County storm? Brian, let's take an echo top on that, see how tall this thing is. Okay, if it's 40,000 feet tonight, that's pretty good. Let's see what we have there. 38,000. So it's getting close. And I want you to notice, folks, as we clear that off, Brian just mentioned a moment ago that there might be more storms developing that would be trouble in North Texas. If you'll scroll south a second, Brian, we are getting a considerable increase in the storms over Grayson County just in the past 10 minutes. So from Sadler back to Pottsboro, Preston Peninsula, Highport Marina, this area, we're seeing a rapid increase in thunderstorms. Not severe right now, but dumping some heavy rain, and that seems to be along that same storm highway, if you will, that we've had all evening long in Texoma. So this is a remarkable event. We've only had about 2 others like this in the whole time I've worked here, 18 years. And typically it's going to be on a day with high wind shear and some sort of a boundary. The boundary we have is essentially a stalled outflow boundary, kind of like a miniature cold front, and it runs right through here while the storms are forming. Then we have an upper level system that's creating a lot of lift plus moisture. You're going to get storms if you have the right environment, which we do tonight across the area. Now, our old storm that was in northern Atoka County near Wardville that was a confirmed tornado about a half hour ago. Looks like it's just about left the county. And if you look at the lightning strikes on that, they've all turned gray. That means they're all more than 10 minutes old. The storm is beginning to diminish, and it's leaving the viewing area over the next few minutes. So we think the danger on that storm has almost passed. About 5 more minutes, it'll be up into Pittsburgh County, and they'll probably drop this warning, hopefully at that time. We've got plenty of them to track. The storm near Caney, also weakening, coming right up Highway 6975 here, probably going east to Atoka, mainly heavy rain and some strong straight line winds possible with that one. And then we have our tornado warning storm southwest of Durant. And if we can go back to Doppler 12, I want to show you again the pretty impressive structure on the supercell with that.
Here, I'll reposition you real quick.
This is
a little bit better.
Most likely the tornadic portion of the storm is going to be located down here in the neck of this notch, somewhere in this point. North of that, you're going to have very heavy rain. If you have hail, typically it's going to be just to the north and northeast of the updraft itself, and the tornado is the updraft, so that's going to be down in here somewhere around McBride currently, and with its track kind of like this, sort of 030 degrees, if you know what that means on your compass. North is 360, east is 90, so this is kind of northeast. Looks like it would stay just west of Durant. Well, we're talking too close to call on that. Durant, you need to be in a place of safety, if not now, very shortly. And definitely in Meade and Silo and Kiersey, which is just on the west side of Durant, take cover now. Don't wait around. This thing's moving pretty quickly. We got on this, Brian, about 30 miles an hour?
Yeah, about 30 to 35 or so.
Okay.
Just an update. It does appear that they allowed the Atoka and Cole County tornado warnings to expire. Let's see. Most of that is moving into Pittsburgh County. Now it's going to be into Tushka. So it's going to be that southern one. So now we're kind of down to 2 areas of circulation, with this one being one of them. But that's just the update on Atoka, which if we go back to Max 1 real quickly, should show kind of less of a mess in terms of the tornado warnings. So it looks like these will likely expire here soon, these northernmost ones. Again, it's going to be mainly these 2 storms that I'm going to kind of zone in on, the one that's just to the south of Atoka now at this time, and then the one primarily to the west of Durant. These appear to be the 2 areas of concern now as that other area is kind of moving out. So
you know that storm south of Atoka has strengthened. That was cycling downward. It has picked back up strength.
Yep.
If you run the loop on that, you can see it's definitely it was decreasing.
There's something
boom.
going on there.
Very sudden surge in that.
And we got lightning coming back into the one in Durant too, which while we're at it, we'll just take a look at the velocity here on the one that is to the south of Atoka. Now it's west of Tushka now, so you folks are likely in the clear. Atoka, I'd say you're probably okay, but just get into your tornado safe place just to be on the safe side. But there it is, likely that area of circulation. I'm not seeing too concerning of numbers overall. Again, we're only seeing 20s and 30s there. It's kind of getting lost out on the outskirts of that data. But you can see that there's something obviously happening, and it's more of a little bit of a concentrated point of lightning and just heavier rain.
Reports of power failures west of Atoka in the Boggy Depot State Park. So that's probably from that earlier storm that went through there. Folks, these storms contain a ton of lightning, so it's logical to see that they would have some power failures associated with them. And as Brian just mentioned, the Durant storm is beginning to pick up strength. It's also becoming more supercellular in appearance. And if we can come back on the wall with that, we'll spend a little time on this, because this is probably the most intense storm that we're going to be facing over the next half hour. The thunderstorm near Atoka is smaller. It contains definitely some elements we're concerned about, but it long-term appears to be weakening, and is a smaller storm having a smaller impact. This one is still growing, and in fact, as Brian pointed out, we're seeing more lightning with it now than we did 15 minutes ago. The trend is definitely upward on this storm. Now, to recap, if you just joined us or we're throwing a lot of information at you, I know it can get a little fatiguing. There is a tornado warning in effect for Bryan County, including the city of Durant, and all the way over to Caddo for this developing thunderstorm that just came across Lake Texoma and is showing classic supercellular characteristics on our Doppler 12. We'll show you that in a minute. The motion of the storm will take it directly over Silo, we believe, and Meade, possibly close to the west side of Durant, then on up past Armstrong and into this northern part of this storm warning polygon. Brian, can you click on the polygon that I'm referring to? It'll help kind of cement all this together with where the storm is moving. And scroll that off to the southeast. There we go. So this is the tornado warning. That's in effect until 7:45 p.m. for the areas we're showing you, western Bryan County primarily, and on up into a little piece of southern Atoka County. And this one means business, folks. We can see how the core is becoming better defined as we just go along. Notice how it's becoming a little stronger, a little more intense in the reflectivity. That shows the rainfall, possible hail. Now, we haven't had a lot of hail with any of these tonight. Generally quarter size or less indicated by radar. It's been mainly straight line winds. And, of course, these tornadic circulations throughout the evening hours looking south toward Grayson County. These have not strengthened much. That's good news. There's some moderate to heavy rain west of Sherman and Denison there up toward Pottsboro. The storm really waited until it got just past Lake Texoma to strengthen, and I don't think that had any effect on it. The lake temperature is about the same as the air temperature tonight, so there wasn't really any boost to the storm crossing the lake. But it's definitely getting stronger. Brian, why don't we stop that and do a velocity scan on that Bryan County storm? Okay. Meteorologist Brian Briggs here with me. And again, the chances of seeing very many TV shows tonight are not looking good, folks. As long as we have these tornado warnings, we're going to stay with them. And this is a dangerous situation tonight with all these things popping up. Some of them may be producing tornadoes. We've had two for sure we know that did produce tornadoes. Now, we don't know about damage on either one of those, but we had a tornado near Tupelo earlier, and then we had one in the last half hour north of Stringtown, which is in northern Atoka County. So out of a total of, I believe, 6 or 7 warnings, 2 have verified. So it's about a 30% chance that one of these would have a tornado in it. Now, it's not that simple, but I'm just saying it to illustrate that there have been a couple that verified with this. And this is the Doppler 12 version on our live scan here of the notch, the rotation associated with this storm, which would be very close now to Highway 70, crossing the highway, moving up toward Meade and Silo. Folks in these communities need to be in a place of safety. Even without a tornado, a storm like this, which is more of a classic supercell in appearance, could contain some very strong, what we call RFD, rear flank downdraft winds, and also just strong outflow winds from the storm front itself. So live update on the scan. We're seeing an apparent circulation here, very close to Meade, and the overall structure may have a second circulation up here to southwest of Silo. So this is definitely the danger zone right here as it's tracking in that general direction, Brian, into western Bryan County. It looks like Durant, going to be a close call. The odds are favoring it missing you, but not by much. And that's why we're definitely not giving you the all clear anywhere from Highway 69 west on this storm until it's north of you. Once it passes you in that direction, then you're going to be good. Next storm coming down the line here in northern Grayson County, southernmost Marshall County. This one is strengthening. We're going to have to watch it carefully as it comes across the lake. And we see it here developing right near the Lake Texoma at this time. It looks like it's picking up a little bit of strength. Not a lot of lightning with it, but the darkness of the core, that's the reflectivity, is getting a little more intense. Gosh, Brian, we hate to see that. These things just won't stop coming.
Yeah, and wish I had any sort of updates to pass along, but at least right now they're not talking about too much. But again, we are going to be keeping an eye on these 2 active tornado warnings. I believe these are the only 2 now. Well, we do have, let's see, yes, we kind of have one off towards the north. I think these are kind of older warnings, though. These storms moving off. So at least right now, again, the main areas of concern that we're looking at is primarily central Atoka County and then western Bryan County, going to be moving into southern Atoka County here pretty soon. So this is the main area of concern. Just want to zoom out one quick time, though, to the rest of Texoma, because look at this. We're actually seeing somewhat of a drying trend overall. Now, there is a corridor, some heavy rain just off towards the west, but that is also pushing north. But places like Ardmore, Marietta, even up through Sulphur, where it's just been torrentially raining, even into Tishomingo and Kingston, kind of central portions in southern Oklahoma, drying out finally. At least we're seeing a very, very notable downturn in activity. So it looks like we're kind of focusing now on just 2 areas of concern. Of course, we still have a lot of heavy rain in a good chunk of Murray County still, and even northern parts of Carter, out near Stevens and Jefferson as well, into Pontotoc. But we are going to be still seeing those tornadic potentials here in our eastern locations here, again, mainly anywhere from Durant to Atoka. So I wish I had something to pass along. I'm not hearing a lot of talk about what is going on, but it kind of seems maybe we're cycling downwards in that intensity once again with the line of storms here. So just want to recap. Probably, what are you talking about? Well, here's one of the tornado warnings. Again, this one technically in effect until 7:45. Again, if the storm can show consistent overall downturn trend or just weakening then they may be able to allow it to expire early. Of course, we've been seeing these things cycle in and out all through the night, so we'll watch this trend, but I'm noticing overall with this convection or the thunderstorm activity that we seem to be getting some sort of dry air or sinking air that's kind of thinning everything out. So we'll see how that ultimately affects the current storms that are in place. Not a lot of lightning anymore with the one in Durant. That's also a good sign too. That means that it's weakening. Now the one in Atoka, a little bit of a different story still. We're still holding on to quite a bit of lightning there. And this one is the one, this was what I'll deem the mega warning that they had earlier when they kind of just stringed everybody in Atoka County together. This one is still in effect till 8 o'clock. So this one potentially has another 45 minutes to go. And this one still looks a little healthy here, but as you can see with the other signs of the storms, essentially trying to say that it's winding down, at least somewhat. Again, treat it like a dangerous storm. It could produce a tornado at any time, and we are still keeping an eye on it. Folks are kind of asking about what's going on with that in general. So let's take a quick velocity scan of this one, and then we will go back down to that Bryan County storm here in just a minute, but not seeing a lot of purple. Still seeing, though, a couplet, actually just to the east of downtown Atoka. But yeah, it's kind of moving on a little bit more rural areas, but we're still getting somewhat healthier gate-to-gate shears on that. Again, not as impressive as it was earlier when we were seeing values near 100, but still dangerous storm, but it's moving out into more rural areas, which is good news. So we're still going to keep an eye on this, and there still will likely be a warning on this for a little while longer. But honestly, I'm seeing trends in the right direction in terms of intensity, and that even goes for some of these southern cells, because that one moving out of Grayson County now, barely producing lightning, and this one, yeah, has really kind of lost its steam. But let's look at it here real quickly. Looks like it'll miss Durant. Let's see, this would be mainly
scan on that one.
See mainly Silo and Meade, and maybe into Armstrong.
Let's go ahead and scan that with the velocity. Yeah, it's not looking all that bad, which is surprising because our Doppler 12 signature on it is pretty strong. But
yeah, I'm just noticing across the board there seems to be something going on with these storms in terms of something interacting with it, in terms of kind of winding it down. Again, I'm not trying to downplay this at all. Again, these are still very dangerous storms, but this is a trend we like to see. It's been a very long night for a lot of us here, especially the folks that have been dealing with the tornado warnings, because this is not the first. This is likely your third or even fourth tornado warning at this point. But yeah, you can see rain and storms overall kind of becoming less and less numerous across the area.
okay, I do want to point out, Brian, as we go back into the loop mode, and thank you for doing that we still have this tornado warning in effect for portions of Bryan County and into Atoka County. This is the one that formed essentially around Lake Texoma and is now tracking up to the west of Durant. We are seeing a secondary storm behind that. It's not nearly as intense, but it is starting to get some lightning in it. And once again, right after it crossed the lake, it started picking up some strength. So we're going to keep a close watch on that. If we have any luck, it will not be sufficient to produce a tornado warning, but we're seeing that same persistence. Now, as Brian said, there has been a gradual decrease in some of the intensities of these storms, but then we have this storm that has decided to re-strengthen in the past 20 minutes. So after trending downward for a long time, it suddenly started to pick back up. We call that cycling. So this is a cycling storm here located now just north of Atoka. So Stringtown, Wardville, you're in line for that one. This incredibly lightning prolific storm here is the one that did produce a confirmed tornado north of Stringtown earlier. It's now clearly out of our viewing area up in Pittsburgh County near Kiowa. Back down to the west, though, the Durant storm, not liking this. We're seeing more lightning now with this one in the past few minutes. And if you look closely, there is a core indicated right here near Armstrong that may contain some hail. And that would be close to the area of max danger. I think the area of max danger at the current time is over Meade. You can kind of see a notch in the storm structure here. Brian, if you'll click on Doppler 12, I can kind of match that up with a higher resolution version of that. And there definitely is a notch indicated right over Silo. We urge you to be in a place of safety anywhere in this region, just west of Highway 6975 from Meade back to Silo. I think that's the maximum area of concern right now. It'll be tracking up just west of Durant, it looks like. Now, there might be some strong outflow winds that would come into town out of the west, 50 or 60 miles an hour. It looks like if there is a tornado in it, it's going to be staying a bit farther west and tracking in this general direction. But these things can wobble a bit, and that's why the tornado warning does include Durant. And safe is better than sorry, folks. I'd stay in a place that's safety there until this storm cell passes. The next one coming down the pike is increasing slowly near Woodville and north of McBride, just right on the other side of the lake from Treasure Island. This storm has been showing also signs of increasing, and we hate to have to report that, but it seems to be the sweet spot for these to develop is right here in Bryan and Atoka counties. And again, this is the most compelling notch we've seen tonight on the storms. So there's very likely a circulation in there, whether it's on the ground or not. Well, we don't have that information at the current time. Brian?
I do have some good news in terms of some of the folks are on the National Weather Service. They're talking to the Storm Prediction Center, which issued the outlooks and the tornado watches and things like that. Sounds like some of our counties here in Texoma will be allowed to have that tornado watch expire at 8 o'clock, which is still about 40 or so minutes out. Again, just real quick recapping. I believe most of the area is still under a tornado watch. Now the question is this for North Texas counties or is this for southern Oklahoma? I think this will be a good handful of us. Don't want to get too excited yet, but they are saying some of our counties here will be allowed to be expired from the tornado watch. So that's good news. Now, there still will be probably a handful, and we'll see ultimately, especially with how everything continues to unfold here within the next 30 to 45 minutes, see if this activity continues to kind of shrivel up, or if we do have enough, especially in our eastern counties here, to deal with that possible tornado threat continuing. But as of now, can relay, it appears that a few of us will be dropped from that tornado watch, and once that happens, we will keep you updated. But in the meantime, we'll still keep an eye on these tornado warnings.
The National Weather Service is saying that the activity in Grayson County does not appear to be of concern, but it does seem to be that the storms are tending to flare up the minute they cross the river. Looks like parts of North Texas will be allowed to escape the tornado watch after 8 o'clock. Of course, we know from our experience, Brian, that just because a watch doesn't cover an area doesn't mean you're insulated from severe weather. In fact, last night, there was a considerable outbreak of tornadoes in central Oklahoma, and there was not a tornado watch in effect at that time. There was a severe thunderstorm watch in effect, but there were at least a half dozen tornadoes, not in our viewing area, but around Oklahoma City, quite a bit of damage reported there. And nature doesn't always adhere to what we say it's going to do, that's for sure. Now, this warning located from Atoka up toward Stringtown, Warville, and Daisy, there's a pretty good notch on this thunderstorm associated with it and a fair amount of lightning. So there's some chance that a tornado does exist in that storm, if not at least some strong winds, and that will track northeast. It looks like it's going about 30 to 35 miles per hour across the open country of Atoka County to the east of the city of Atoka. Our storm that's coming out of Bryan County looks like it's starting to weaken again, cycling around. It doesn't look particularly strong compared to this storm to the northeast of Atoka. So we've had no reports of any funnel clouds or wall clouds or anything out of this storm, but it does have a pretty tight supercellular structure on Doppler 12. Now, that actually has started to break up a little bit too. And Brian, if we can go to Doppler 12, I've got it zoomed in on that storm, and it's starting to look a little less compelling than it was. The hook is becoming a little more diffuse, a little less distinct, and this may be an overall sign of the weakening we're seeing as well with the National Weather Service composite version. Storm is located west of 6975 and tracking northeast and showing some signs of definitely winding down, breaking up a little bit. Now, this thing might regenerate. These are very difficult to forecast, so you have to just kind of monitor them. Here comes a fresh scan. So the storm is obviously tracking in this direction. Here's the notch, the most likely spot where there could be a tornadic circulation, and we think there's probably still something in there. Not real likely it's on the ground, but possible. And we do have a little secondary circulation that has developed over Durant. So that's again why I told you about 10 minutes ago, ask you to please stay in your place of safety in Durant until the warning was officially canceled, because we cannot rule out a smaller circulation developing over the city, which might yield a small tornado there. But it looks like the entire system is starting to become a little less defined. And if that trend continues, Brian, that'd be really good news. Let's go back to Max Radar. In fact, if you would, punch up the watch and warning map. Let's give everybody an indication in Texas of what's happening. And there's a lot going on. Tornado warning in effect, that's the Durant storm. It's actually outside of Durant silo area, moving northeast. It covers northwestern Bryan County and a little sliver of Atoka County, and that one goes until 7:45, right, Brian?
Yes.
Okay. Then our second tornado warning is in north central Atoka County. Does not include the city of Atoka. The city of Atoka now is clearly outside of the warning threat, and that's moving up toward Pittsburgh County over the next 20 or 30 minutes. And then we have all these flash flood warnings that are still in effect for rain that's still occurring and heavy runoff that has taken place over the last several hours. Been calculating the rainfall, looking up the reports, and there are a number of spots that have had over 6 inches of rain since yesterday, and a number of spots that have had 2 to 3 inches of rain, like Tishomingo and Ardmore, in the last 3 hours. So tremendous amount of runoff with that. That'll be good news for Lake Texoma and other lakes, so they'll probably get a lot of inflow out of that. But bad news for traveling tonight. Okay, the yellow counties are the tornado watch still in effect. Now, several Weather Service offices, including Fort Worth, have said they're going to drop their portion of the tornado watch at 8 o'clock, but we'll still, I think, have some severe weather threat for a while longer with the environment really just clinging to this warm, humid air, and that's what it's allowing it to feed off of. And then there's a weak cold front stall right where these tornadic storms keep forming. So the environment is just not cooperating with the nighttime that normally shows weakening storms across the area. And let's go back to the wide view on Max Radar if we can there, Brian. Meteorologist Brian Briggs working with me on this long day of tornado coverage. Fortunately now, this is the best news as far as we know. At this point, none of these tornadoes have produced any damage or injuries. Now, we can't be 100% sure on that because something may have happened that hasn't been reported yet. But the 2 confirmed tornadoes we had, one near Tupelo, Oklahoma, and also one north of Stringtown, were on the ground as seen by train spotters, but did no damage that we know of. The other warnings we've had throughout the night have been unconfirmed and most likely, based on what we know, never did produce a tornado. So 2 out of 6 of the warnings did produce tornadoes at this point in time. Count that 7. This is the 7th warning of the night. So 2 out of 7, and we hope there's not any in there now, but this storm north of Durant is still hanging on to a pretty good bit of lightning. So if not a tornado, a severe thunderstorm there for sure. And the one north of east of Atoka, clearly moving up into the northern part of the county. That'll be in Atoka County for about 10 more minutes. You're watching from Daisy in northeast Atoka County. This will be headed in your general direction. And here's the Doppler scan, the speed scan on the Durant storm. There is a couplet here near Durant. It's not particularly strong. Looks like it'll be underneath tornado threshold, but these things cycle. So every time the beam goes through there, it finds something new. I would say there's still some threat in this region here west of town where we have the max green and red contrast, that there could be something in there. And again, even without a tornado, damaging winds are possible in these storms as they track northeast about 30 to 35 miles per hour. That's the official track on that. Let's back out a little bit, Brian. In fact, if we can, let's do a storm track on that with the tracking device at 35 miles an hour. Go ahead and back out a little bit so we can show where this storm will be in the next hour or so. So if you're watching from downstream in Atoka County, this storm is headed your way. And you go ahead and stop that motion. You can do that ETA track on there.
I'm working on it.
Reminder that a tornado warning continues for areas of Bryan County, and that does include Durant, at least for a little while longer. There are some ETAs on this storm based on this forward speed of 35 miles per hour. We're tracking it from the core. It's called the storm-based warning, same way the Weather Service does it, so that you have the most accurate timing on what actually is the dangerous core of the storm. We don't track the light rain. That's going to probably happen first, but we track the most intense portion of the storm or the updraft, as that is the area really that's of concern for protection of life and property, and that's tracking this general direction at 30 to 35 miles per hour. And lightning is picking up around the core of this storm once again. So I think the tornado warning is justified for a little while longer till we see a clear trend of decreasing, which we are not seeing that on any of these storms. They're cycling up and down over a period of 20, 30 minutes, and that's allowing them to persist across this same region. Let's go down to Gracie County and see what we have there.
Okay, but yeah, that northern one in Atoka, it looks to be moving out of Atoka County now back into Pittsburgh County once again. Where have we heard that before?
Yeah. Well, this is good news. We're seeing nothing new developing south of this southernmost cell, and this cell is not strengthening. So maybe we're finally seeing an end to this endless parade of violent storms, folks. The change here, this is a significant break in the action coming across North Texas now versus the last 4 or 5 hours. So as Brian said a little while ago, and good call there, buddy, maybe this is going to be the last one coming through right here. And if not, perhaps this one, because this one doesn't even contain any lightning, and it does not look like much more than a rain shower right here. This, of course, is still a severe thunderstorm with possible tornado. It's now moving up clearly to the north of Durant. I think the threat now would be from Armstrong to Kennefic and back to Highway 6975 near Caddo. Looks like that's going to be the threat zone on this as it's tracking now clearly to the north of Durant. So I suspect that they will take Durant out of the warning pretty soon.
Yeah, they should. And it'll be interesting to see if they continue a downstream warning with this, which honestly I would not be shocked if they did, considering that the storm's still holding in intensity for the most part. Again, I know we just kind of looked at this storm, but let's look at it once again with the overall velocity, because there is definitely a couplet just to the south and west of Caddo. You can actually clearly see it. Now, we weren't really picking up any in the major way of huge numbers. Again, we're only seeing 35 gate-to-gate shear, which is not terribly impressive, but again, still could be enough for maybe a brief spin-up tornado. It could be just cycling, so please don't let your guard down, especially if you're in Caddo. Hopefully you're still in your tornado-safe place, because again, while nothing is ongoing, there is still some very, very gusty winds with this activity here. So this is going to continue to kind of push off towards the, towards the north and east, generally a north-northeast pattern, riding along that Highway 69 corridor. We are seeing some lightning there. So again, at least it's very easy to pick out. And it seems, again, that overall the trend has been trending drier for Texoma, knock on wood. Let's hope that that's the case. It's been a very, very active day, and I think everybody's ready for a breather here. And not saying that we don't have any flash flood warnings, because we actually took those off. Let me turn those back on. We actually still do have numerous flash flood warnings, even where it has stopped raining. So keep that in mind too. We still have ongoing flash flooding. There's some areas that will probably continue to fill up with water as the water kind of drains out here, but notice those darker red or deep red polygons. Yeah, those are where all the flash flood warnings are still in effect. So again, the good news is, for the most part, it's not raining in those locations anymore, and we're now just kind of holding on to these tornado warnings. So again, most of this action in northeastern Atoka County now moving out, and actually they'll probably let this warning, at least for us, expire here to the north and east of Atoka. See if I can see. This is mostly to the north and east of Stringtown as well. You're saying not too much going on there, and we actually have a really kind of all over the place core. So if we look at the velocity on this, if it pulls up, which is being slow, what you doing? What you doing? Come on, let's get a better one here. Let's see, our system, there we go. So there's kind of some, again, diffuse, these circulation areas here that we're keeping an eye on, but for the most part, honestly, I think the threat is waning. And I think I'm confident in saying that, considering that this is the first time tonight that we've seen the trend go the other way. Gate-to-gate shear, hardly noticeable. So again, it's trending in the right direction, but of course, as we always say, we are going to be sticking with you until these warnings are dropped. So wish I had something to relay from the National Weather Service, but at least right now, nothing to talk about. But again, while we're kind of slowing down here, we're watching this problem area coming out of Bryan County into southern Atoka County, again, mainly staying west of Caddo and Caney right now, but no major indication of anything. There is some circulation there, but that one in northern Atoka County winding down. There are some heavy thunderstorms still in Pontotoc County, actually Murray County now drying out. And actually, for the most part, I would say we're winding this down, I think. So knock on wood, hope I'm not speaking too soon on this, but I do like the trend of where this is going, at least for the most part. Again, here's kind of a loop of what we've been talking about, and definitely a noticeable downtrend. I mean, those showers literally just evaporated right over I-35. So again, we're watching some heavier thunderstorms that may train into northern Pontotoc County, but we'll watch these little guys here soon, and let's hope that the trend continues the way that they're going. So at least right now, like what I'm seeing. Let's see, if you don't mind shaping up on Doppler 12, I can pull it up here real quickly if you just want to point me a little bit further north.
Yeah, it's
while it's in front of you.
Still a notch there northwest of Caddo. There's a little notch right there. See it?
Yeah, so this one, again, I think honestly this one right now is probably the area of most concern in Texoma. Again, right over Kennefic, just to the west of Caddo and Caney. Caney right now, I'd say you're probably in the line of sight for this storm. If you're in Caddo, I think you're going to be just fine. Armstrong, Durant, you're pretty much getting out of the danger zone as it is. So again, this doesn't have a polygon on it, but you can kind of see, I mean, it's clear as day, right over Kennefic, that little kind of S-shape little thing. It does not look as pronounced as it did before, but certainly still an area of concern. Let's put that into motion here on Max 1, and you can see here, yep, still kind of going as it progresses north, again, right over Kennefic, and it's going to be moving out of Bryan County here pretty soon into, into Atoka County. Now, let me just check in with the National Weather Service. Let's see, they're still talking about the main tornadic concern being with this one cell in particular, not really talking too much about, about Atoka County. So just trying to read some things here for the most part.
I'm going to call for Max 2 in a minute. I want to warn you guys. Can you give it that?
My apologies here. Steve's just taking a little bit of a breather here, but that's the thing. We are just still on the air with you here. So just kind of recap, if you've been with us, I know it's been a really, really busy night, but I just want to rest assured that folks in northern Atoka County, that storm is starting to move out. We'll watch and see what this little core does here as it progresses northward, but overall it seems that these storms seem to be becoming a little bit more tame. I don't want to speak for them quite too soon yet, but right now, this storm right here, the main area of concern, and actually let me just stop it here and just get another, actually let me look at the echo tops on this thing because I want to see if actually pretty tall. They've gotten taller, if anything, right over Caney. 45,000 feet. The updraft though, yeah, they're still pretty impressive storms overall, but they're not looking all too impressive now on the radar. So I'm going to continue to monitor because this area, as we've mentioned before, remains unstable. So we're starting to see more 60s though popping up, and actually it seems more like southern Oklahoma is stabling out. There's likely a cap in place. That's going to be my guess, especially in areas in North Texas, places to the south like Bonham and Paris, where it's much more unstable, but we're not seeing anything. So that tells me that there has to be some sort of cap in place to keep that storm activity from filling in. And it's likely becoming more strong as we go through the night. So let's hope that that's the case. Maybe southern Oklahoma is, after all, stabling out. We'll watch that trend very, very closely. But again, here's kind of a wide view of what we're looking at. Now, we are looking at some pretty electric storms off towards the north and west. This, again, will probably be more of a flash flooding threat, but this is going to be pushing north. It's going to be mainly more of a northern Carter County issue. At the end of the day, it looks like Murray and Pontotoc counties drying out. So let's see here. Looks like they are expiring one of the warnings here, and I think it's going to be for Atoka and Bryan County. So if I'm not mistaken, it should be this warning right here that they're going to let expire. So let's click this one again. This one was originally in effect for the next 7 or so minutes, but it looks like they're going to let this one expire here pretty soon. So if I'm reading that correct, it should be disappearing here pretty quickly. And then let's go back up to this one up north. We'll kind of look and see. Whoops. Let's see if we can get this one back.
I'm going to spell you here in a sec, buddy.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah, we'll see this one. This one, I would imagine they're going to let expire too. And if that's the case, then may be able to send you back to your programming here in just a minute. But this one's in effect until 8 o'clock, so we'll see. But this one still remains in effect for Atoka, primarily Stringtown, although, yeah, that storm pretty much to the east and north of Stringtown. Again, we're seeing additional activity moving in, but that is not related to the tornado warning. There it goes. It just got trimmed. So, yeah, it looks like they're continuing. Actually, let me read here's an update. Circulation near the Bryan-Atoka line has slowly lost intensity. Tornado warning has expired. They'll continue to closely monitor. So they're still saying that the environment does remain somewhat favorable for tornadic activity, but kind of what we've been talking about. I know we've been repeating ourselves here several times over, but it's encouraging news that the overall intensity of this activity continues to wind down.
So are we saying the Durant area warning is being canceled?
Yes.
And that's the last warning in the area?
We still technically have one off towards the north and east in Atoka County that will go until 8 o'clock.
Okay, we will, that'll be leaving the county in about 10 minutes. I believe that we will definitely end our coverage by 8 unless a new warning is issued, but possibly sooner if that storm physically leaves the county. Sometimes the Weather Service is a little slow on clearing those once they're obviously out of a certain area. They got a lot going on. They can overlook that. So Let me jump over here on Max 2 on the wall. Brian has a need for a drink of water, I think. You get yourself a glass of water, as we have a lot going on here tonight, folks. We still have this tornado warning for Atoka County. Now, according to our latest information, this tornado warning for Bryan and extreme southern Atoka County will be canceled shortly. So the storm, although it's still showing lots of lightning and characteristics for heavy rain with a top to about 45,000 feet, apparently, the tornado threat, well, you're definitely out of the woods in Durant. You can see the storm has clearly moved north of you, up toward Caddo. If there's anything left in there as far as strong wind, and that's possible even without a tornado. In fact, often we get that. That would be the area of concern. This storm will track up toward Tushka and Atoka as a non-tornadic but possibly severe storm. So when the tornado warnings are dropped, that's great news, but it doesn't mean the storm isn't still dangerous in some capacity. Far northeastern Atoka County, up around Daisy, you got this storm, which is still under a tornado warning, and the most likely location for that tornado would be at the north end of McGee Creek Lake. Right here, we see this notch. That's where we think whatever is there, that's the location of it. It'll be tracking up right over Daisy in the next 10 minutes. So take cover if you were in that small community there in far northeastern Atoka County. Looking back to the south and west, we don't really see anything that's imminent across North Texas at this time. That certainly is good news. So we'll expect to see the activity there a little less extreme as we go through the area tonight. So that's the main area of concern, is the thunderstorm over Bryan County, which apparently is weakening at this time. Well, I can't get this to switch for some reason. I'll have to do it manually.
Let's see.
Okay, here's a Futurecast Super High Res, and I want to call this to your attention because this sort of gives us an idea of what's going on the next several hours.
Can we get Max 2 up real quick?
That is,
It's there you go.
oh, that's what happened. We got the wrong. Okay. All right, folks, forgive me for that. We have a little glitch, but we've got it straightened out now. We are going to cycle through this once again. Tornado warning is canceled shortly for Bryan County. Looking down on a wide view across all of Texoma, we are still seeing this pattern with heavy rainfall across parts of the area that's causing more flooding. Keep it on Max 2 here. And you can see this heavy rain located over much of Stevens County. So here we go again. More flash flooding is likely here from Duncan back through Velma, Alma, and up toward Pauls Valley. These storms are not indicated to be severe. And at the current time, there's not a flash flood warning in this area. But if this rain continues, then it may necessitate the issuance of another flash flood warning. But south into North Texas, where we see this lonely flash flood warning, no rain in it, that's good news. And what's happening here is we're leaving it in place for now because of previous runoff, but no additional flooding is expected in Cook County, at least for the current time. And here are the storms that are located along this front that have continued to produce tornadic weather this evening. As far as we know, through all this activity this evening where we had 2 confirmed tornadoes, no damage reported. Now that's pretty fortunate, so we're pleased to report that tonight. And this tornado warning over Bryan County is no longer relevant. The storm has moved into Atoka County, and they are not extending that warning any farther. This storm is weakening, and that warning expires here in just a few minutes. 2 minutes. So that warning will disappear from the map in 2 minutes. The only remaining tornado warning is northeastern Atoka County. That storm is over Daisy. We'll be leaving our viewing area in about 5 minutes. And at that time, if nothing further breaks out as far as tornadic weather, we'll let you actually watch a show. How about that? Won't that be nice? But in the meantime, I'd like to caution you that even with the tornadic weather perhaps winding down, and we're not going to give it all clear on this, not after the way things have been today, but there does seem to be a trend for fewer and fewer of these intense storms. Given that we can let you watch a show here starting about 8 o'clock, I want to caution you that even overnight into your Monday, got a lot more rain coming up. And in fact, this is the 6-hour rainfall total I've pulled up for you. These are estimates off the radar, but they're very close to the actual measurement sites across Texoma. So just in 6 hours, 3.2 inches in Tishomingo. Grand total, 7 inches of rain in the last 36 hours. 2.4 in Colgate with these tremendously prolific rain-producing torrential supercell storms. $1.06 near Durant, most of that in the last 2 hours. 1.5 inches of rain near Ringling, and on down the North Texas here around Munster. Had a flash flood warning there. Storm came right over you earlier with extreme rainfall, 3.9 inches of rain. So in the band of blue, That's where we have the highest risk of flooding. Now, good news here, that all of this heavy rain in general is going to be draining into Lake Texoma. I expect to see a significant rise on the lake. Now, it'll take a couple of days to get in there, but it should go up a couple of feet at least, and with more rain in the forecast. Here's your Futurecast Super High Res. Now, these models, we have two things we look at for the model. We have what we call the initial conditions. How well does the model match up with the radar? Well, very well. So starting off, knowing what it's doing, basically. As we go through the evening, you can see the rain does not quit. It tapers off a little bit, but shifts back over southern Oklahoma and continues quite heavy even into the late night hours. But eventually, we see a sharp decrease in the activity after midnight. But I want you to notice the winds are out of the south. And there are more storms in the forecast tomorrow, maybe several rounds of them. And guess what? Some of those in the afternoon could be severe. But after that, we expect a nice change in the weather coming up tomorrow night and Tuesday, as finally we have some dry air coming in, and that should be some great weather for Election Day and give us a chance to rest after all this rain, which in many areas has completely wiped out the drought. In some areas, though, like in North Texas, not much has happened for you. You just haven't gotten enough rain to do much of anything on the drought. But again, the rain is far from over, and that'll be continuing for a while tonight and tomorrow. Let me back up here a little bit, and we'll go back through one more time our big view on Max Radar. That tornado warning now is officially canceled there in Bryan and Tonka County. That storm is still intense, but not considered to be tornadic. It's right over coming up on Tushka right now. Pardon me, Brian?
They're going to put a severe thunderstorm warning for it.
Okay. All right, so
which
there
I think
it is.
They just issued.
There's a man with the timing. How about that? So that warning popped up right when he said it. Severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Atoka County, not a tornado warning. And in fact, our tornado warning here is now really no longer valid. The storm has left Atoka County, and that warning should be allowed to expire very shortly. But I think we're going to pull the plug on this, Brian, in about 5 more minutes as that storm will be completely out of Atoka County then, and our responsibility for that will have ended. Give us the parameters on that.
Okay, they just canceled it, so we are good to go.
Oh, okay, the tornado warning in Atoka County?
Yep.
Okay, can you briefly just read out the severe thunderstorm warning parameters here for the Atoka County storm?
Yep, it looks like we've got just kind of a line of storms extending from 4 miles south of Wardville to 3 miles southeast of Atoka to near Caddo, moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. 60-mile-an-hour winds will be the main threat, and penny-sized hail as well. So this will be pretty much impacting all of Atoka County, more of the same locations that we've been pretty much talking about all afternoon and evening so far. But at least that is a good sign that the National Weather Service is thinking that the tornado threat, at least with this particular storm, going down. With that being said, we were talking about earlier the fact that some counties were being dropped from the tornado watch, which they have before 8 o'clock. However, most of the Texoma area is now under a tornado watch until 1 a.m. So this is not going anywhere anytime soon. And it's going to continue to be a long night, especially for folks that have been continually dealing with this tornado threat. So that is the new tornado watch. And let's see, if we don't mind pulling up Max 1, maybe we can see that. Yeah, let's pull up Max 1 real quick, y'all. There you go. So most of the area, you can see, continues to be under this tornado watch. Everybody's under it until 1 o'clock in the morning now, as opposed to 8 o'clock tonight. So it's not done yet, even though we are seeing a trend in the right direction. It's going to be one of those things where we're just going to have to sit, watch, and wait. Of course, that tornado watch could also prematurely expire if storms stay quiet. So it's going to be one of those things where we still need to be weather alert tonight. I know we're tired and we're ready to not be tracking severe weather anymore, but this is just what we're having to deal with. The condition's still there. So we will be here tracking that for you, and at least for the moment, we're probably going to be sending it back to your programming here pretty soon.